don't even need the bell. I'll do it anyway. My name is Rachel Alba, and I serve as the Director of Religious Education here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. One thing I love about this congregation is that I have been here for a full year. It has been such a delight to be here for that year. But part of what I love so much is that you all are committed to the process of having and respecting and acknowledging the importance of spiritual development throughout one's lifespan. So we have kiddos that are just a few months old, and we value and appreciate their spiritual development just as much as we value and appreciate the people who are in their 90s and their spiritual development, and everyone in between. And the way that we show that as a congregation is through helping out in the nursery and helping out during religious education and helping out with teaching OWL our whole lives, the sexuality education programs. And just allowing kids to be in our spaces on community nights and when we have all ages services. And you all are so available and willing to be a part of that process. And it is something that not every congregation has, and I do not take for granted, and I so appreciate all of you for being a part of those spaces. So thank you for valuing spiritual development throughout the lifespan. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. I want to take a moment to give a warm welcome to everyone who's visiting us for the first time. If you're joining us online, where's the camera? If you're joining us online, fill out a visitor form using the link in the description. We'd love to connect with you. To give you some idea of what we're about, let me tell you about our mission. We say here that we connect bravely, deepen spiritually, embody justice, and always love. What we mean is that this community is inviting you into our shared time together today, but it's also inviting you into a way of life, a way of being in the world that may transform you. We want to grow as individuals and to welcome more people into this community. And we want to help you in your personal dream to make the world and your life better. So there you go, the church in a nutshell. We have 3 invitations after the service today. 3. So first, our annual pledge drive kicks off this morning. If you haven't yet, be sure to pick up your pledge drive packet at the table in the hall. They are personalized. Charmin and Jack have been doing an amazing job with things, so be sure to pick up that packet. And then, after some coffee and conversation and picking up your pledge drive packet, we're going to gather into the Sky Room at 12:30 for a justice fair. Each of our justice teams will share about a 5-minute presentation with plenty of time for you to connect and learn more about where you might want to get involved. So, I'm curious how many of us in this room are already involved in the different justice teams we have. So, if you are involved in climate action ministry, raise your hand. Woohoo! Yay, climate action! You all have hung out in religious education this year a decent amount and will continue to do so, and I love it. If you are part of BASIC, which is our immigration team, raise your hand. Fred! And Diana. We have our Indigenous Justice team working with teepee raisers. Who's worked with teepee raisers? Awesome! And they've got some really amazing things happening in the next couple of months. There's a big flyer on it, so check that out if you're interested in helping out with teepee raisers. Who's helping out with our community garden, where we've gifted thousands upon thousands of pounds of food to different, right? Lots of, how many pounds? Somebody? Many! Awesome! And then we also have a racial justice team. Who's involved in racial justice? Woo! Cool. So there's so many opportunities to get involved, and hopefully one of those 5 things that I just mentioned sparked something in your heart that said, I want to help with that. I want to get my hands dirty in the mud and garden this summer. Finally, so the first Sunday of each month, our staff hosts an Exploring UUCB conversation after the service in the listening room, which is right back that way. So if you're newer, it doesn't have to be your first time, it could be your first several months here. It's a great way to get to know each other a little bit deeper and to bring questions you might have about this congregation, what we do, Unitarian Universalism, anything like that. Okay, that's all I've got.
I'm going to be back there and exploring UUCB today, so if you want to come chat with me after the service, I'd love to get to know you. I'm always looking for good ways to describe what sort of a community this congregation is, what sort of a tradition Unitarian Universalism is, how it's different from the stereotypes or the baggage of other churches, other religious communities. And the Unitarian minister, Robert Carnan, put it this way a half a century ago. He said, "Our church and fellowship buildings and the moments we share within and outside them point to a sometimes wild and raging visionary courage in the face of what would demean and destroy and estrange what is in our hearts. There is no more critical task for our lives than the courage to love and to be there honestly and fully for each other. Deep and good friendship and all the trust and serenity that comes with it are transformative. Deep friendships make a healthy life possible, even likely. It makes for peace and for strength in facing the hardest issues, doing what we can for what is right, just, and fair here where we live is the most powerful social justice force on earth. And the quality of love and goodness we expose from our sometimes reluctant hearts will change the world. Our task is not to make more UUs. Our task is not to make bigger congregations or raise great gobs of money. Our task is to heal the world, to inspire, to open, and to remake, to change what is sorrow into joy. That's why we gather, in the spirit of love and of justice. That's why I give my life in service to what can only be described as invisible and intangible, but which is also the most powerful force of all. Our all too human, sometimes faltering, sometimes complete, sometimes painful and sad, sometimes serene and laughing love. That speaks, if anything at all does, with the voice of the holy. This is the business that we gather to do. This is the point of church, not to run away from the world, but to draw closer to it. Not to harden our hearts for difficult days ahead, but to let ourselves be broken open, tender still, if just for this time together. Friends, will you rise in body or spirit? And we'll sing that out together.
To feel
Each week when we gather, we light our chalice, just as 1,000 other congregations do, each week around this country. It is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist past, present, and future. It is a visible reminder of our interconnection. And I'd like to invite Cathy Edwards to light this morning's chalice.
Good morning. I'm Cathy Edwards. This year I have the honor of serving as the president of our Board of Trustees. So you've seen me up here before, facilitating congregational meetings and our November vote to renovate the building. Today is the start of our annual pledge drive, and I want to share what this church means to me and why I show my commitment to this vibrant community with a meaningful financial pledge. UUCB is very much my third place, a term coined by sociologist Ray Oldenburg as a place outside your home and your work where you can connect with others, share your thoughts and dreams, and have fun. The people here are my beloved community, my multi-generational extended family of choice. On the strong foundation of shared values, I love building connections with you, whether brief in the moment or growing over years. Sharing the joys and challenges of our lives with each other weaves a rich, very real social fabric of appreciation, acceptance, support, and love. I feel regenerated after spending time here. This church nurtures my spirit with thought-provoking sermons and topics, and with spaciousness and acceptance of my unique spiritual journey. Our rituals both ground me and open me up to a larger connection to all around me, seen and unseen. I'm such a practical person. This place helps me remember awe and wonder and moves me to tears, and I need that in my life. I am nurtured here at UUCB on many levels, so that in gratitude, I want to give of my time, talent, and treasure. It has been deeply rewarding to be able to contribute my time and professional talent to the board, the personnel committee, and the search committee that called Reverend David. I also love to literally feed my beloved community by sharing fruits of my cooking and baking. As for treasure, I have already made my pledge to support UUCB for the coming church year. I want to sustain and build this wonderful church community, not just for me, but also for others, that they may enjoy the many gifts available here. We have a wonderful staff and vibrant programs which need funding to continue and to grow. Personally, I made the decision to increase my pledge by 10%. Not everyone can do that, but if you can, let me encourage you. Such generosity will support appropriate compensation for our minister and staff, expansion of the membership and connections coordinator position, our exciting new music ministry, and robust religious education for our growing congregation. I light this chalice today in deep appreciation for all that UUCB gives me and makes possible for others, and with optimism that you will join me in generously supporting this beloved community.
Our covenant is the promise we make to each other about how we will be together in community. It is simple. It is demanding. In person and online, will you join together as one to speak it aloud? We gather in fellowship to speak truth to each other, to reach out and touch one another, to care with each other, and to speak the truth divine. So be it.
when I read and hear the news these days, what I feel so often is fear and overwhelm. What I feel so often is heart sickness, ache, and terror and powerlessness. In Gaza, I see the understandable rage of a profoundly wounded Israel revisiting that same injury 10 times over. In Ukraine, I see the strong taking what they want from the weak, an invader seizing what they can by force, unstopped by the international community. In Alabama, I see the Chief Justice of a supposedly secular court make a fundamentalist Christian doctrine into law, explicitly declaring that God has said frozen embryos are equivalent in status to children. And across this country, I watch millions of my fellow citizens cheering the rise of a candidate who openly boasts of dictatorship. And then around the world unfolds a climate crisis which is not waiting for us in the future, but has been with us now for years. I read and I hear the news and I feel heartsick, powerless. There is work to do in all of that. Certainly letters and petitions and politics, those matter. It matters, the hard conversations you have with the people you know about what your values are and why. It matters, the willingness to face these realities again and again. And our work also is to feel that heartsick powerlessness and not be swallowed by it. To remember who we are and who we're called to be. To remember what that solid ground is that we stand on. So in that spirit, will you join me in prayer or meditation? Our words are from Mark Bellatini. One day I pray in clear and clean windows, reflections of families at supper, not mouths open in fear. One day, I pray one day in wide, hot streets, clean air, not belching oily smoke. One day, I pray on warm spring nights, the sound of crickets, not wailing or gunshots. One day, I pray in human hearts a prayer of thanksgiving for peace that has lasted 1,000 years, not a truce, but an era of peace, full and rich and just. May our children live to see such a world. Oh, love, may all children live. What indeed can we do? We can breathe. We can feel heartache. We can breathe. We can be loyal to spring. We can breathe. We can remember the difference between what we can do before we've thought and what we can do after. We can breathe. We can remember the ways our feelings can serve our mind. We can breathe. We can refuse to sign our lives over into the service of panic or the service of self-righteousness. We can breathe. We can get clear on our most basic values. We can breathe. Blessed are you, breath. May you be the spirit that sustains me in difficult days. Will you take a breath with me? And another, slow, steady grounding. This commitment that we make to each other to connect bravely means that we're called to be glad with those who rejoice and to weep with those who mourn. And each week we set aside this time in the service to make visible in ritual the invisible joys and sorrows shaping our lives. So for you meeting in person, I invite you to come forward as you feel moved, starting with the back of the room and the choir before the front. And silently take a stone, place it into the earth to symbolize your joys, your cares, taking their place in a larger community, held by something bigger than any of us. I'll place a first stone today for Susan Bailey, who took a big fall on Pearl Street yesterday, broken wrist and ankle, leaving the hospital today, holding her with love. And for all the blessings and the concerns that we carry, we hold this space with love. Please come forward as you feel moved.
I am sending you light to hold you, to heal you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. No matter where you go, no matter where you've been, you'll never go alone. I feel you deep within. I am sending you light to hold you, to heal you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. No matter what you feel or what you choose to show, I'm always there for you. So I want you to know that I am sending you light to hold you, to heal you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I walk the path with you. Go slow, dear one, don't hurry. I'll go just like you need to go. There is no need to worry. I am sending you light to hold you, to heal you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to hold you, to heal you. I am sending you light to hold you in love.
It is awfully good to have y'all singing. This is our first Sunday with our new choir under Emily's direction. Every week when we gather for this service, we say our covenant together. We did that earlier. The point, I think, of doing it every week is to practice, to continually sort of remind and reground ourselves, because it's so easy to lose the thread. What are we doing here? Okay, right, this. Part of the point, I think, is to continually open the door to the newcomer walking in to say, this is part of who we are and what we're about. This is the thing, one of them, that we've promised to each other we're going to keep on trying to do, because the newcomer is always us, too, beginning again. We gather in fellowship to speak truth to each other, to reach out and touch one another, to care with each other, and to seek the truth divine. 40 years, more or less, I think, week after week, the same words, occasionally disagreeing over the meaning and capitalization of divine, or whether fellowship is still the right word for this thing, or hesitating over the wisdom of touching one another in a post-COVID world. Not post. But I actually think the most important word in that covenant isn't any of the verbs. It's not speaking or reaching out or caring or seeking. I think the most important word in that covenant is the very first one, we. We. This community is an ecosystem. We all tend it together. We all make it together. Not all in exactly the same ways or at the same times. We are community weavers and justice makers and spiritual seekers. We thrive because there are so many different people here, passionate about different things, engaged in different ways. All of us working to be whole, to be present, to be awake. It's life-crafting work we're doing. I mentioned at the State of the Congregation meeting last month that each year before our March annual pledge drive, so welcome newcomers, now I'm going to talk about money. Not only money, though. Before this March annual pledge drive, our pledge team gathers to talk about the theme, right? What's the theme that sort of holds this thing together? And we start by asking the question, where are we as a congregation? What is behind us and what's ahead of us? Where are we hoping to go? What's working well? We want to keep on doing better. Choir, I'm looking at you. It has been barely 2 years since we reopened for weekly services in person. That was February 13th, 2022. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear this online, but there's like a low sigh that just moved through the room, right? At the time, it was a joy and a relief to have made it that far. That was like the first spring thaw. And then 1 year ago, we'd done more than make it through. We were re-emerging, not trying to go back to doing all the same things exactly as a community we had done before pandemic, but trying instead to remain faithful to our mission, to connect bravely and deepen spiritually, to embody justice and always love and say, okay, what does that look like now? 1 year ago, it was the first leaves coming out on the trees. But today, I know every branch is bare outside. Close your eyes. As a community, this is the early summer. This is leaves that are that wide, light green, soaking up sunlight. And so much is possible. An adventure awaits us. Our future is growing. And the numbers tell that story. I had an English teacher who said, numbers always lie and stories always tell the truth. Which is maybe I am now in this profession. So I hesitate a little, but I'm going to give you some numbers anyways. On any given Sunday, there's 25% more people in the room than there was a year ago. We have 48 children and youth in our religious education program. That's more than double a year ago. We have a middle school youth group for the first time in a long time. Yesterday, 20 folks spent the day volunteering at Teepee Raisers Hub in Lafayette, cutting wood, organizing food. And the racial justice ministry team that only launched last year is thriving. And the climate action team is planning this year not just for Earth Day, but for Earth Month. Here's the thing, I share, sort of milestones and numbers and accomplishments with a little trepidation. We lived for 15 years in the Midwest, which was enough time to get uncomfortable with too much celebration. I'm proud of what y'all have done this year, but the thing that's most important is not the numbers. The thing isn't just what we're doing, but how we're doing it as a community. The brilliant Unitarian Universalist musician and leader Glenn Thomas Rideout says that church, at its best, our communities, this church is a conservatory and a laboratory. It's a conservatory, it's the home of what we're used to, what we find comforting. And it's a laboratory where we try new risks and imagine what could be, practice our way into new kinds of people. Last summer, when we moved to these current name tags, we put pronouns on every one of them. And for some folks in this community, that was new and different and did not make sense to them, and that's okay. We're all learning and figuring this out together. But what we said collectively as a community was that an open-hearted and genuine welcome and full inclusion to non-binary and trans folks exactly as they are was more important than the comfort of we who might have grown up used to a male-female binary. What we said as a community is that we're here to change and grow and challenge ourselves, not to take for granted the common sense notions we were raised with that are wrong. What we said, in other words, is that this place is a laboratory for our own growing. And maybe for you that's around gender, or race, or class. Maybe for you that laboratory work is untangling the theological baggage of your past. Maybe it's practicing being moved and open-hearted in a world which does not encourage or reward that work. Maybe for you, the laboratory is cultivating compassion for yourself. We're a laboratory and a conservatory. One of the ordinary things that makes me so deeply happy each week is at our 9 a.m. service, which is in the Sky Room, and we all sit in big concentric rows of folding chairs. One of the things that makes me deep down happiest is how people put the chairs away after that service. This is such an ordinary thing, but that is comfort, that everyone pitches in together. The people whose bodies let them, they move the chairs, and they don't look at the people whose bodies don't let them do it like, okay, I guess you can be here this week. And they don't stand around looking at each other like, why do I have to do this? Why isn't someone doing this for me? Everyone joins in together to make this thing happen. It's the same way that we sing together in this service. It's the same way we do this whole place together. We co-create it. Each year in March, we face the plain reality that money is a real part of what makes it all work. And then I have this weird job of saying, we really do need your financial support, but not in a strange, cringy, shaming kind of a way. Because the annual pledge drive is not an invitation for you to put a dollar value on what you get out of being here. 2 hymns at $5 a hymn, $1.50 for coffee, incentive bonus for short sermon. This is not how it works. We're not like consumers looking for a good deal. We're co-creators. And the annual pledge drive is not a passive-aggressive guilt trip. You know, if this congregation really matters, I'm sure you'll do the right thing. That's not how we do it either. The way we talk about money is simple and direct and forthright. And the invitation is for equal generosity, not for equal gifts. And not to give until it hurts you. There are folks in this community who give 5-figure pledges, and there are folks in this community who give 2-figure pledges of equal generosity. And both of those matter. All of those matter, because abundance is what we get from all of us together. The invitation is to help create this place for everyone else around you, to pass it forward. To pass it forward to people who haven't even heard yet of a progressive, open-hearted, open-minded religion with a long name. Your financial support is not the whole story by far, but it is a vital piece of it. Can I tell you about financial priorities for this year? I feel like, I don't know, there's a lot of money talk. I don't know, okay. I'm getting a tentative go ahead. I'm going to talk about 3 financial priorities for this coming fiscal year that starts in July. This is on top of what we're doing right now. Here are the things we really want to do. The first is to expand the membership coordinator role. So Irene, our membership coordinator, this is like a 12 or 13 hour a week job right now that a lot happens in. And we do a pretty good job of welcoming the newcomer coming in the door, helping them get situated and settled and figure out what we're about and have a sense that this is a place that's home and make a few connections. Expanding that role, we can deepen the next part of that relationship, because that's a real good first 6 or 9 months for a person. But the next part of the relationship is, how do we get more intentional about building connections and relationships? How do we go deeper with each other? How do we do a better job inviting everyone, newcomers and long-timers alike, into the life of this community? Expanding the role to halftime will let us do that better. Second priority, closing the financial gap to a balanced budget. So we are in the final stretch of a 3-year path out of deficit budgeting during pandemic. You all did a remarkable thing during those extraordinarily lean years. In the decade before and longer, you put money aside for a rainy day fund, and you said to yourselves, if this is not a rainy day, we do not know what is. And you cut some, but you chose to deficit budget instead of slashing this place to the bone. You said, we know there is a future on the other side of this thing. Let's start getting ready for it now. And coming out of pandemic, instead of saying all at once, let's do a Herculean and painful thing of getting all the way back up, you said, no. We need to balance not just the income and expense, but we need to balance the way we're using our money with what we're using it for and how we're making this place. Third priority is to strengthen fair pay for our staff team. The investment we make in, look, cover your ears for just a moment. No, the investment we make pays off. We have this remarkable team of people, and you have probably noticed the world is radically more expensive than it used to be. Strengthening fair pay for our staff team is an investment. All right, last November, y'all voted to expand this building better to serve our growing community. And in the months ahead, we're going to gather input from everyone, congregational input, and consult with architects, learn how to fundraise, and then we're going to bring the plan for what to do and how to do it to the whole congregation for a vote. That's probably a busy, steady year of work to get to that proposal. We're a year out, probably, from any actual fundraising for the building. But along the way, even more important than what we're building is why. The mission at the center is to connect bravely and deepen spiritually, to embody justice and always to love. And that mission is an invitation into a way of being in the world that might transform you. A place where you can bring all of who you are into this journey of growth and service in a connected community. Someone told me it's like this place isn't a church. It's a place where you come to practice being a person. I was like, yeah, hopefully that's what church is. Of all the numbers of accomplishments this year, my very favorite, it's an estimate, but I think a close estimate. There's good data behind this. My favorite number is 1,762. That is the number of pancakes we've eaten so far this year. And it's my favorite number, not just because that's a lot of pancakes, but because of what it means. What it means is those mornings gathered together in the sky room, eating and laughing and celebrating, pulling out the chair for the person you don't know to sit down next to you and start to know them. That is abundance. Abundance is the partner of putting relationship at the center. And when a newcomer walks through the door, there's a seat for them, even if we have to scooch, and there is a pancake for them. There's an abundance of curiosity and care. This is a year of growing momentum, of old projects taking new forms and new programs taking root. And your generosity in this pledge drive builds that energy and makes a community for the next person walking through the door. That transformation from stranger to someone already home without knowing it, that's the invitation and the promise that we offer to everyone walking through these doors. And that is what we are building every day. Amen. Let's sing it. Let's sing it.
Please rise in body or in spirit. Our hymn is number 1017, Building a New Way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working
This month, we split our offering with Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains. For those of you who don't know, I am a certified clinical sexologist. So prior to being here, part of what I did, with a variety of other things, is I worked specifically with individuals and couples talking about sexual issues of all kinds. And a lot of things come down to education and a lack of education, as well as access to care. And Planned Parenthood is not only the organization that trained the person who trained me to be a clinical sexologist, but it's probably the primary organization that people think of when they say, oh, I need STI testing. Or, I don't know if I'm pregnant or not, but I need a pregnancy test that's really accurate, more than the ones I can get from the grocery store. Or, I need information. I don't know what's going on with my body, but something feels like it's not quite right. And Planned Parenthood is where people think to go first. Now, we live in Colorado, which means that abortion rights are not under attack in the same way they would be if we were in Alabama or Florida or any of the other states that you can think of. Texas, really close. In fact, like one of the places where I oftentimes cross the street on 28th Street, right by the Panda Express, there's a little bumper sticker on the crosswalk sign that says, "Don't worry, you're in Colorado. Your reproductive rights are safe." Exactly. And that's the reality we live in, where this is a place where people are safe. And they're not just safe because they're residents of Colorado or citizens of Colorado. It's because they're coming from the states that are close to us and needing support. So when we donate money to Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains, we're not just supporting the people that are in Boulder or in Nederland or close by. We're also supporting the people in Colorado and Utah and Wyoming. And Nebraska, I think, is still okay. But all those states that are close by, we're also supporting those women and those people. So with that, I also say that for decades, Unitarian Universalists have affirmed that every person has the right to determine if, when, and how they want to have children. As people of faith, this commitment is part of our sincerest religious values. Unitarian Universalism proclaims that all individuals and communities have the right to self-determination, safety, and resources that are necessary for health and sustainability. Since the Supreme Court's decision invalidating Roe v. Wade, Colorado's Planned Parenthood clinics have seen a 30% increase in patients from other states where legal abortions are no longer available. Boulder's clinic is among these, so the need for these donations has greatly increased. We hope that you will support Planned Parenthood through our shared plate this month as generously as you can, and I invite you to give as generously as you are able. For those of you who are online, you can use the QR code or find a link in the video description. For those gathered in person, you can scan the QR code or make a donation as the ushers come by now and pass the baskets. May our gifts be used to enact justice, bring peace and love and bodily autonomy to the Boulder community and those communities surrounding us.
I'm always trying out good ways to describe what sort of a community this congregation is, how it's different from stereotypes of the baggage of other churches. I'm looking for better ways to name it, our conservatory and our laboratory, a place to open and remake our hearts, a community of many different spiritual paths united by shared values. However you describe that work, this business of growing your soul and helping to heal the world, it takes community. You can't lower your guard and be heartbroken in theory. It has to be embodied, real. You don't find depth in the abstract. It takes practice. Listening and silence, reflection, time, space. And in that work, we are companioned by all the people in this place and by fellow travelers across centuries, poets and prophets of peace. We're companioned too by the people we don't even know yet, who have yet to walk through these doors, who we're making space for. That's the company that we keep, all of us together, known and unknown. Our benediction today, our final word, comes from our choir, reformed and ready.
Before we sing for you to close the service, will you just join me in a breath or two of deep gratitude for the human miracle that is Paula Stafford? We closed the 9 a.m. service, and I had some urgent messages from Ella, who was on their way here and unfortunately blew a tire and was stuck with no way of arriving. So on 1 hour's notice, Paula not only graced us with her extraordinary musical gifts, but really her generous and willing spirit. So thank you so much, Paula.
Who
Let's go in peace.